All right, welcome to the fourth and final review of the evening. Up this time is 1000 times Resist. 1000 times Resist is a thrilling sci-fi adventure. The year is unknown. A disease spread by an alien invasion keeps you underground. You are Watcher. You dutifully fulfill your purpose in serving the All Mother until the day you discover a shocking secret that changes everything. Okay, so 1000 times Resist. This is actually a game that got quite a lot of buzz last year when it released, and has in fact gone on to be nominated at the very least for quite a number of awards. Um, for example, it's a nominee for the Indie Game Awards. A lot of nominees: Golden Joystick Awards, Tiga Games, Ludo Naricon. Just um, didn't win a lot of awards from the Steam page, but still, the overall point is this is a very critically acclaimed adventure game, which is not a surprise. Um, Having played through a good majority of it. Like, that being said, what I can talk about is going to be limited because, well, the narrative is really the thing to play this for. Um, it is an interesting setup because it's like, what if we stuffed a visual novel into a third-person action game? Like, um, if nothing else, that does provide it with a unique presentation. Uh, Even though the actual in-game presentation is a mixed bag. There are certainly some very impressive artistic flourishes, like the outfits that the sisters wear, as they're called in game, um, are very striking. But like the location, the orchard, where you spend the lion's share of the game, um, never really evolved past its basic ass Unity look. Um, and also like the models can be very low poly at times. Like, it's not a looker in the technical fidelity sense, is what I'm getting at. But this game isn't really all that concerned about wowing you with the latest in 4K graphics and ray tracing. It's all about the art here, and on that level, it succeeds. Um, Also, it's quite the mature story, if you can tell from the trailer here, um, because the game starts out with the All Mother getting stabbed by Watcher, and unsurprisingly, the first, well, let's say 4 chapters, no, 5 chapters, are the lead up to that event. We're doing in medias res, and learning what took this naive Watcher and turned her into, well, the killer of God. And I don't mean that in a, ironic comparison sense. To dig a little deeper into the premise outlined in the Steam blurb, so this is taking place in the like, they say the year is unknown, but you can kind of parse it out from the in-game timeline, because it will give you numbers for the before times, or when the virus is outbreaking. The year's 2049. So if it's taking place 1,000 years from now, it's the year 3049. And and indeed the whole of humanity has not just collapsed, but has been wiped out by a combination of the virus and these aliens called the occupants attacking. Like, honestly, this is one of the weaker parts of the writing. I was never quite sure, and because at some points, like, they were writing the occupants as something like the Colossi from Shadow of the Colossus, big things that just kind of walked around. But other times, they purported to attack. Now, that does get defined later on as the narrative goes on, but I don't think at any point there was an actual attack. Like, I don't know. It's a bit muddled. No. Anyway, so aliens visit, virus unleashed, humanity dies outside of one Iris Kwong, who is, for some reason, immune to the virus, and also turns out to be immortal. So she's lived for 1,000 years, and society is literally reoriented around her. Not just in the sense that the surviving humanoids revere her as a god, but they are not her children in the genetic sense. They are her clones. So they basically built a clone society out of her hair.
I mean, that's one way to do it.
Yes. These are actually major plot points in the game. And there's more to it than that. Like I said, this is actually a really hard game to talk about in non-spoiler form. Because, all of this surface stuff has so much more going on.
So I guess you want to go into gameplay a little bit since we're getting near what you can really do with story.
I'm like, so because if I were able to talk about the story, this could actually last a few hours.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure there's probably some lengthy ass video essays.
I would not be shocked, especially with all the other work fellow traveler has done.
Yeah.
I'd be more shocked if that video essay didn't exist.
Yeah. And in terms of gameplay, like I said, it's a visual novel stuffed in a third-person action adventure game. Because the way you move, you can see watchers body
Mm.
in the third person. Most of the time, there will be occasional segments where they switch to first person for storyline purposes, and honestly, those were pretty awful. Not sometimes it was the filter they used, like sometimes the goddamn fisheye lens. Also, the other gameplay tweak is this power that the Watcher has called communion. Now, in spite of the name, there doesn't seem to be a lot of symbology there. Like, there's not a direct Catholic connection, even though you're using a very Catholic thing here. Like, at least from what I could see, I will grant you, I didn't grow up Catholic, so somebody who actually is versed in the religion may be able to better pinpoint such things. But when you go to do communion, which is basically going through the All-Mother's memories and reliving her past, oh boy, is that a theme in this game. I think I could spend at least an hour on that alone. But there are occasional segments where there are red halos that you have to target and do hit the on an Xbox controller the left trigger. I just suppose breaks up the gameplay and provides the otherworldly, dreamlike atmosphere, but honestly was just kind of pointlessly annoying. Especially when you had to do a whole bunch in a row. Honestly, it just felt like busy work to me after a certain amount of time. But the biggest gameplay element here is is the talk tree. Like, if you've played a LucasArts adventure game, if you've played any number of visual novels, you know what this is. You get to choose the responses, though how affected things are to the end, not very, if at all. Even certain major choices that you would think would have an effect on the storyline or the endings don't. Now, there are multiple endings, but the multiple ending choice comes at the end of the game. And I can absolutely not talk about that. Do you see the frustration I'm having about talking about this title here?
Yeah.
Because it's all narrative. It's all themes. This is a game with a lot to say. And not just like about the universal human experience. Because, yes, in case it crossed your mind, this game is very much paralleling the COVID epidemic.
Yeah. It's not exactly subtle.
No. It's also worth noting the perspective that it is taking, because a big theme in this game are the masks worn. Which may give away of where this is speaking, culturally speaking, because this was created by a bunch of Chinese immigrants to Canada, which is why the masks are so venerated, because in Asian culture, East Asian culture, not just China but Japan, Korea, wearing masks during a pandemic, and just in general, is not frowned upon.
You're
not even a pandemic. It's common. Like I know in Japan and probably in the other ones, it's because of the social contract concept that is very entrenched in those cultures. If you're sick, you wear a mask so you don't get other people sick.
Yeah.
My point is, mask mandates didn't fucking break society.
Well, and people wouldn't assault you for wearing a mask.
Yeah, it's like fucking white people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like, if this were a bunch of white dudes who made this, like, the masks would be the enemy.
Yeah.
God. But
anyway, that's a discussion for another podcast there.
I know, but it's like, it's something that I had to address.
Trust me, I know.
Because it's not the only hot button in this game. Because the question of Chinese dysphoria comes up. Because as it turns out, Iris's parents were dissidents. Very specific ones at that.
Oh,
I'll be honest. Well, when things started, I thought they were going to be connected to Tiananmen Square. No, this game is way too new, and the people who actually made this are far too young to reference that.
I mean, they could know about it.
Right, but that's why the virus outbreak is taking place in 2049. Because, this is a part where it's fucking autobiographical.
Yeah.
I did look that up, but no, this is because they're referencing the Hong Kong umbrella movement. I'm like, to the point where fucking umbrellas show up. Like, it's got some things to say about, what the umbrella movement was about and what they did. It's, I'll be honest, I don't feel like I'm qualified to talk about that.
Very fair. And again, there's probably video essays that go more in depth.
It's also because, very much an outsider's perspective. I was somebody who, heard the news reports, saw what was happening, think it's a travesty. Watching Hong Kong's autonomy being torn away like that.
Mm-hmm.
Its democracy smashed. It being turned into a puppet of Beijing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also,
but,
you mentioned Tiananmen Square. I remember seeing videos of that in high school. Like, obviously well after, but, like, world history class.
But,
we had to sign actual permission slips to be able to view that in high school because that was fucked up.
The thing is, the central question about that gets asked is, was it worth it? Was engaging in the activism worth it? Was throwing away their lives worth it?
Yeah, because this isn't like what people think of activism here, where, you might get called a jackass, but in other places, you go to prison or you even get executed for activism.
Well, even here, you can get persecuted for activism, but
it's a lot lighter here. You're not going to be killed by the government for activism. Your family members are not going to be made examples of for activism.
I mean, maybe tell that to Palestinian activists who are literally being black-bagged right now.
I mean, fair, but like for the most of the everyday citizenry.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a question I can't answer.
Mm-hmm.
Because
none of us can.
Yeah, it's like I cannot say that protesting the destruction of Hong Kong's free press and democracy up close was worth it, and then fleeing was also, so that their children could live a freer future was also worth it.
Yeah.
Like,
Or even
because
just
that is
not
actually
end
something
up
that,
in a fucking labor camp.
well, see, this is actually something that goes against the idea of activism.
Mm-hmm.
One of the basic tenets of activism is you are prepared to sacrifice everything and anything for your cause. Like, an example, Gandhi wanted the maximum penalties applied to his law breaking to show the injustice of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, there's also some other fucked up shit Gandhi did, but we're not going to talk about that.
I mean, yeah, this is all. This is some complex shit. This game is imbibing in.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, like there are themes I cannot really touch upon, like intergenerational trauma and torture. Because, okay, I will warn people right now, I won't go into specifics, but there is a lengthy sequence of torture that transpires in this game.
Mm-hmm. Is it like, without going too deep, is it like actual physical or just psychological stuff?
Both.
Ah, fair enough.
It's like, it runs the gamut. Gaslighting, drugging, eyes are gouged. And by the way, you're in the first person when that happened. So, it's not as bloody as it would have been in the third person, although there's certainly there's a bloody segment involving a failed operation. It's still very stylized. Like, this game isn't as bloody as it could be, but oh god, this is an adult game. And I mean, like, adult in the capital A. We're talking about heavy shit. We're getting into nasty topics.
If this was ESRB rated, it might actually get the AO rating, not just M.
It's probably, I think it, no, it'd get the M, because it's not showing a lot. It's talking.
Oh, just talking about it.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
But
you definitely probably asked if this buying a physical game, you probably asked to show ID.
Well, here, let me see here. Let me just read to you the mature content description. This game may contain content not appropriate for all ages. Photosensitivity warning, flashing lights, cursing and crude language, generational trauma, acts of violence and terrorism, disease outbreak, mention of suicide, mention of animal cruelty, pet death, blood, body horror, emotional abuse, bullying, dead bodies, vomit, drowning, fire, gore, needles, racism, and general mature content.
Fun.
It really isn't.
Yeah.
But it's not supposed to be fun. I'm like, and another thing that's addressed here, not just generational trauma, but the perpetuation of cycles of violence. Once again, I can't get into specifics because that's spoiling some shit.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, like I said, I'm reaching about my limits as to what I'm comfortable talking about in a non-spoiler session. But as far as, is this game worth getting? Absolutely. It's clocking in at usual price, $20. It's on sale right now for $15. This probably could have sold itself at $30 and be worth it. It's just you have to have the stomach for it. Now, it's not all grim, dark, cynicism or nihilism or anything like that either. There's a lot of levity. There's a lot of, soft points. So it's not a relentless, brutal thon either. There are games, there are projects that are like that. This is not one of them. It's more a gradual descent into madness and monstrosity. And also dealing with unreliable narrators. Important thing to keep in mind. Overall, yeah. One of the best games I've played this year, and honestly, I liked this game the most out of the fellow travelers games we've reviewed this year. Not my overall favorite fellow traveler game we've reviewed on the show. That's still Paradise Killer. Right. So, Petty, Galax, anything you want to add or ask?
No.
I think I'm good.
Yeah, I think we did everything.
Well, not even remotely, but like I said,
everything without totally spoiling the game, rather.
Yeah. I knew that, I knew it was going to transpire this way because, like I said, there's a lot, but it's tied up. Anyway, so that'll about do it for this installment of the Fragments of Silicon Reviews. Coming up on the week ahead, on Wednesday, March 26th, we'll be welcoming Tess Wainwright of Urisoft. Why, yes, in this context, Yuri is connected to lesbians. They are seeking to make, they're currently in development of their first title called The Songbird Guild. And coming on Friday, March 28th, we'll be welcoming Joan Marie of JMAA Games, maybe JAMA Games. You'll have to ask her when she arrives on the program. Developer of a few games here. Johan Weiss, SAS versus Fash, Girl Balls of Steel. And her upcoming title, Plumbum. Like
the Latin word for lead?
Probably. Hint, it involves shooting a lot of people. And they've already provided the code for the gameplay footage, but I'm not exactly sure which game they sent. But on that note, we also do have a MSP episode planned this week. And looks like things are about as stable as they can be with Mac. So until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.